Ran Nathan is the director of the Minerva Center for Movement Ecology and a professor of ecology at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. He's also editor-in-chief of the journal Movement Ecology and co-developer of the Atlas Wildlife Movement System. We've invited Ran here today to share his perspectives as a leading expert and founder of the field of movement ecology, and as someone who continues to help define and advance the discipline as it evolves. So it seems fitting that you have the final talk in this series. So please do take it away.
Wow, thank you so much, Stephanie, and for this initiative. Warm congrats, and thanks to my fellow speakers and for all attendance. It's, I think, a very interesting session. So I'm going to talk about the revolution, the high throughput revolution in movement ecology, and we are facing an era of big opportunities for movement ecology. At the theoretical side, we proposed the movement ecology paradigm 14 years ago. And the focus here was on the individual that moves, and in the context of the environment, including biotic and abiotic components, and considering the evolutionary trade-offs, traits, and ecological implication, and so on. And there have been further development of this framework and other theories that were advanced so far. And I think the gap here that is still needed is to develop theoretical framework for scaling from individuals to groups, population, and communities. This review in Biological Review 2 years ago attempted to go this way, and it's a good start, but still I think it's one of the major challenges ahead of us. And also we need to scale across a wide range of spatial and temporal scales, and it is an inherent feature of any movement, and there are attempts to try to resolve it, but I think the opportunities there are still quite large, and there's lots to do at this front. In terms of opportunities, real practical opportunities, then we arrange a group initiative in a project in the Isaac Newton Institute in Cambridge that will be active. You see here the dates in July to December next year. And not only it will attempt to scale up from individuals, animals, but also scale down what happens with biological entities that move within individuals like cells. So, and this is all from the perspective of theoretical models, and it's a good opportunity, I think, to advance this field, and I call all of you to register and try to participate in this initiative. In terms of tools that, many years ago, I noticed this dramatic increase in data yield in my own lab, and this was, of course, highlighted in these two reviews that were published in Science back to back in 2015, what actually one of my first presentation of this drastic increase was in 2013 in a meeting in Scotland, and I was asked, what are you guys are going to do with such a ridiculous amount of data? And the answer to this fair question is was summarized in this paper that was published a few months ago in Science. So it's a review of the technologies and the questions and the opportunities in movement ecology. And if we look at the workflow of movement ecology, so we design a study We collect the data, we process the data, analyze the data, and publish the outcomes and share the insights. So if we focus on data collection, so these are 8 different tracking systems that are ranges in their capacity to yield big data. And this is what I would like to highlight in particular are reverse GPS systems that the very, very familiar and very useful and helpful GPS systems are known to everybody. Reverse GPS system is different in the way the localization are calculated, not by communicating with satellites and back, which is very energy demanding, but on the system. And this allows us to make tags smaller and smaller. And it has been already emphasized many times in previous talks, the importance of small tags. And this is actually attaining GPS level in accuracy with much smaller tags that are more efficient in terms of data yield. And of course, there are drawbacks like regional scale coverage and installation, and all of these are summarized in here. We established Atlas, which is a reverse GPS system, and this is thanks to a brilliant scientist, a brilliant colleague called Sivan Tolego under the Minerva Center. And the first system was established in the Hula Valley, and now we have several other systems in Israel and in UK, Netherlands, Germany, Mauritius, and some other are planned or in establishment. And what actually we can do is the main feature is ability to yield lots of data very efficiently. So here you see the localization per investment, per US dollars, and the number of tags. And you see that, reverse GPS, which applies also for acoustic telemetry, using acoustic signals in aquatic systems, then you see that several orders of magnitude more efficient in data yield than GPS, various GPS technologies. And these allow us to provide some new insight into cognitive maps and memory and spatial cognitive ability and all of these. So if I would summarize the contribution of high throughput technology, not only Atlas, but others, is that it allows us to address questions on individual variation in behavior, in movement, in cognitive ability, as emphasized here. So we will get really different and wrong answers if you use low resolution data and instead of high resolution data in all these examples that I will show you now. Another example is biotic interaction. So the number of interactions is multiple with high resolution data and no interactions with the same data subsample. And again, you can look at other important topics, interactions with humans and the environment. So here fish avoid vessels, and if you subsample, you will get a wrong answer. And also a question about spatial temporal scale. If you zoom in, you see a search here. If you zoom in with subsample data, you will see just 1 point. So in all these key questions, then having high throughput tools will further increase our ability to address these big questions, at least in these 4 main questions that are, I guess nobody will argue, are some of the most important questions in the science of ecology, animal behavior, and evolution. And my last emphasis is on using this technology for monitoring, and this was very nicely highlighted in this paper by Walter Goetz, Martin, and Roland and colleagues. And what I would like to emphasize in particular is real-time monitoring. And this has been already started, and for conservation purposes, like this example here, this is maybe the first paper that announced or introduced this concept, and then lions in the gates, and the wonderful example of albatrosses roaming over the Atlantic oceans and using the data to detect illegal vessels. And so all of these are really just starting. And what I think beyond these practical implications, we have with these tools, we have an opportunity to add the experimental aspect to movement ecology. Movement ecology is still largely observational, and we're all aware of the benefits of experimental approach. And this was, for example, shown very, very nicely with RFID, automatic RFID tags that open boxes for different birds of different traits. And they were wonderful inside. It's just visitation. It's not really the tracks, but there are technology that can use this real-time feature that we can all benefit by starting a new line of experimental movement ecology. And my last example is coming for a disaster that happened here in Israel a few months ago, in which 8,000 cranes die out of H5N8 avian flu outbreak. And there was lots of birds killed in poultry, and it's a global problem. We see that in many other places in the world. And we happen to have cranes as part of ongoing project with GPS tags that were tracked over the years, and were in the area, in the focal area of this disease. So beyond the general concept that there's a strong correlation between bird migration and spread of these disease outbreaks, that we found out that this is the feeding station. You hear the cranes, and what this huge aggregation of 50,000 cranes in one spot is wonderful to see the birds for tourists. It's important for agriculture because they make damage in the agricultural fields, but the risk here and always been for epidemics. And this happened this winter. And actually, we found out that a signature for these events in our tag birds, and very early on in the epidemic dynamics, we already told the government actually that it's not about a few dozens of birds that were found so far. It's about thousands of birds, according to percentage of the birds that we track and that were injured or died or infected. And you can see here that we can analyze the movement data and the acceleration data and nail down the fine-tailed dynamics of individual level changes. And so we can forecast the death of individuals from this outbreak 3 days in advance based on the movement data, and 7 days in advance based on the acceleration data. And we also found out that some of the cranes probably infected and recovered. And you see this signature here of a low activity, and then back to the normal activity in these individuals. So it's very helpful to know that they do recover from disease. And you don't want to see the symptoms of these birds when they are infected. And one individual was roaming over the whole area, and which is quite exceptional. It's individual variation, a topic that I mentioned before. And his signature is quite strong all the period. He was not in the Hula Valley, which is here. but might have been he has been there in the beginning before everybody else, and might have been infected and recovered, and then moved on. So another important insight was the option of a second wave with the spring migration, cranes from Ethiopia that migrated north and came out. We were afraid that there will be a second outbreak, and therefore we really pushed the government to stop the diversionary feeding. And eventually this was, we hope, helpful, because the cranes stop at much longer times at the Kula during spring. But we now know that they died along the way during migration. And so there's so much information that we can obtain for this kind of data for ongoing problem that we have no other tools to get this kind of data. So this long list of options that in general tracking system can provide us is enormous. It's never been applied in any management of outbreaking disease, and for me, it's a wonderful examples. There are, of course, problems and drawbacks of this, but if you can manage to do this, then I think it's a good, it's a wonderful use of this technology. So we should develop high-throughput real-time tracking tool to boost up the experimental approach in movement ecology and to steer the management of human-wildlife conflict, human and wildlife health, and various other major environmental problems. And with that, and with the thanks to my dream team, my collaborators, and the funding agency, and all of you for your attendance, also many editors of movement ecology who are now here. Thank you all, and looking forward for the future in movement ecology.